Our next unit is going to be on area and surface area. So we've all heard about what area is ever since about the third grade. It's most likely with a rectangle or a square at first, and we always use the formula area equals base times height. So in this chapter, we're actually going to go over the area of composite figures. That's our end goal, as well as going over surface area. Now, in order to do all of that stuff, we need to remember our formulas from the past. We need to remember the area of a triangle, square, rectangle, parallelogram, trapezoid as well, and then how to solve them algebraically if we have like the missing width or one of the bases are missing and stuff like that. We're also going to go over the area of a circle within the next couple of days. So let's just go ahead and get started. So of course you should always have your formulas. If you remember them and memorize them, that's perfect, but if not, you'll be given a reference chart on an exam and as well as the STAR test. So make sure to use that reference chart just in case you forget these formulas. Now another thing that's very, very important, math facts. You need to know your math facts, okay? Which is essentially just your times tables, okay? So we'll go ahead and get started. We can see here that this is a square. So make sure to write out your formula for every single problem. Area is equal to length times width or base times height, whichever one. So area is equal to 5 times 5, simple enough. Area is going to be equal to 25. All right, and it doesn't have the units here, so I'm just going to write units squared, okay, because this is a square unit. Now for this over here, it's just the same thing. Area is equal to length multiplied by width. Area is equal to 24 multiplied by 8. And then area is then going to be equal to 24 times 8 is equal to 192. So we have 192 centimeters squared. Okay? Nothing hard. Same stuff that you all have been doing. All right? Now let's try this algebraically. So the reason why I want you to write the formula is that you're going to have some problems such as this, where the area is given, but one of the sides is not given. So I'm going to go ahead and write my formula. Area is equal to length times width. I have my area, which is 96, and then I'm just going to say the length is 12. I need to figure out what the width is. So 12 times the number is equal to 96. So that means if I divide by 12, and I divide by 12 to get the W by itself, then all I have to do is take 96 and divide it by 12 in order to get my answer. So 96 divided by 12 is going to give me 8. Okay, so what is this side equal to? This side is equal to 8 centimeters. All right, and that's how you'll solve things algebraically. Now let's move on from squares and rectangles to parallelograms. Now, a parallelogram is simply just a rectangle, except it's tilted to its side. So if you think about it, if I cut off this triangle right here, if I cut this off, I could place it on the other side. And then if I do that, what shape do I get? I get a rectangle. That's why the formula for a parallelogram is area is equal to the base, which is the bottom right here, multiplied by the height. Multiplied by the height. Essentially, it's the same as a rectangle. So in this case, we have some information that we don't need, which is this diagonal row over here. The 6 we do not need, so you have to watch out for that. So our base in this case is going to be equal to 10, and our height is 5. So our area is going to be equal to 50 inches squared. Same thing over here. I find my base. I'm going to go ahead and take out the diagonal because that's not necessary. And this is the height. So once again, area is equal to base times height. Area is equal to 8 times 4. I like to separate them in parentheses. So area is equal to 32 centimeters squared. Okay? Let's move on to the next one. Let's try this with a little bit of algebra and working backwards. So over here we have our base, which is 15, our height, which is h. All right? And then we're also given the fact that the area is going to be equal to 45 units squared. 45 units squared. So let's go ahead and fill out the information. Area is equal to base times height. We know that the area is 45 units squared and the base is 15. We just don't know the height. So we're going to divide by 15 here and divide by 15 here. So h is going to be equal to 3 units. All right, so this is equal to 3 units. All right, let's move on to our last one for the day, and that's a triangle. So you'll see triangles in different forms, but what you really need to look out for is area is equal to base times height divided by 2. So this right here, even though it's on the outside of the triangle, that's how high the triangle is. So 10 will be my height and 14 will be my base. As you can see, this 13 is not really necessary. It's the diagonal, all right? That's not needed. If you think about triangles, the reason why it's base times height divided by 2 is, look at what happens when I extend this and then I put 2 triangles on top of each other. Essentially, I have a rectangle, correct? But all I did was create a diagonal between that rectangle in order to have 2 triangles. So, essentially, 2 triangles will be the area of a rectangle, okay? So, this is why we have base times height divided by 2. Let's go ahead and fill this out. Area is equal to the base, which is 14, multiplied by the height, which is 10, and then we're going to go ahead and divide that by 2. So area is going to be equal to 140 divided by 2. So area is going to be equal to 70 meters squared. Okay, it's very, very important that you put your units. Next one, area is equal to base times height divided by 2. So area is equal to 12 multiplied by 5 divided by 2. Area is equal to 60 divided by 2. And then lastly, area is now going to be equal to 30. It doesn't have units, so units squared. Okay. What I want you to notice as well is you could also write this formula as half the base times the height. So instead of dividing last, I could have just done area is equal to half of 12, right? Half of 12, and then multiply that by 5. So that way it'll be a lower number, 6 times 5, okay? Area is equal to 30. So if that's easier for you to half one of the numbers first, instead of dividing by 2 at the very end, definitely go ahead and use that strategy. But I usually like to think algebraically because when we do the algebra version next, you'll see why it's good to have that 2 at the bottom. It just makes things a little bit easier. So here's our last problem. We're going to try triangles, but we're going to do it algebraically now. So we're going to have our given area, but then we're going to have to either find the base or the height. So as you can see over here, I'm going to just write down the formula. Area equals base times height divided by 2. So our area in this case is going to be equal to, let's see, let's make our area equal to 189. So area is equal to 189 units squared. 189 units squared. Now, let's go ahead and fill everything out. I have the area, 189 units squared. The base, in this case, as you can see over here, is the very bottom. The base is 21. And 21 is going to be multiplied by the height, and we're going to go ahead and divide by 2. Now, this is why I like to have the 2 at the bottom. This 2 over here is saying that something, some product up here is being divided by 2. So, in order to reverse that to get rid of the 2, I need to multiply by 2. Since I did it on this side, I'm going to have to do it on this side as well. Multiply by 2. So, this cancels out to make 21H the only thing that's there. Now, on the other side, all I have to do is take 189 and multiply it by 2 to get 378. So, 189 times 2 is 378. And then the last thing I have to do is divide by 21 and divide by 21. So, my height, So my height is going to be equal to 378 divided by 21, which will give me a value of 18. Okay, so in this case, my height will be equal to 18. And that's it.